Hello, and welcome to another Inktober themed swatching video of all my old art supplies that are gathering dust in the study slash craft slash storage space. I'm focusing here today on these Copic style knockoffs, starting with these two that have the exact same colors and codes to compare them. The only one that is not in both sets is the black here, as I unfortunately have somehow lost the black from the other set. Anyway, this first lot is from Typo, which is a brand that made an appearance in a previous video. They are an Australian brand, and I looked it up. They have stores in 18 different countries around the world, including the United States, United Kingdom, Brazil, New Zealand, Indonesia, Thailand, China, and Singapore, as well as many others, so they very well may be accessible in your region if you are interested. Now, these markers were really quite hard to open the cap, which does mean that they are very secure and they're not going to dry out through air exposure, but I had to pull them really hard and I ended up using a rubber grip mat to help me separate them. I did not have to do that with the Kmart Anko brand. But I will have to say, barely any of the colors between these two sets actually matched when lined up with each other. And the Kmart brand was significantly worse. As you can see here with the Typo brand, they do not have the best coverage, but they are fairly decent, and I do think I will be using these in future projects to get back into it, marker art, and just art in general. But I will not be using the Kmart ones. I would not bother getting them. There is no point. They are terribly scratchy. The chisel tip is weird and bumpy, and the bullet tip is, like I said, very scratchy. So I wouldn't get them again. I would not recommend you get them. Even if they are the only ones available to you in your area, I think you would be better off not doing that at all. They'll make you feel disappointed in your art and like you can't create, when instead it's just these absolutely terrible markers. So as you can see here, none of the colors match, and the Typo ones look fairly decent, particularly decent compared to the Kmart ones. So yeah, I would not bother with getting Kmart things, but of course when you buy from Kmart you do sort of know what you're getting yourself into. They are cheaper, of course, and they reflect the price point in the terrible quality. I did also swatch the colorless blenders there. I know it's completely unnecessary, but I don't really know how to use colorless blenders. That is something that I will work on. And of course they bled through the paper and I forgot to put down my protective plastic sheet in between them. So they bled right through this, again, cheap quality paper, but it is smooth paper, and I know that markers look really good on smooth paper, and as you can see with this next set, which is also from Typo, they do look really nice on this paper. Now I love this set. These colors are absolutely stunning. I am a sucker for pinks and purples and other warm hues. I say that like I don't love greens and blues. It's very hard for me to pick a favorite color. I like them all. I'm just very drawn to pink, purple, but then also teal, aquamarine, everything. But yes, this is the type of like warm set. And I would say that this set is smoother and nicer than the neutrals. But I think the neutrals, I had used them more, and so they're probably a little bit more, not so much dried out as used up. But yeah, no, they're quite lovely, which is surprising considering the fine liner set. I was not expecting to be happy with any of the stuff from Typo, but that goes to show that sometimes brands can surprise you. It is kind of annoying to look back and kind of sad when you realize it's been years since you created art and all these really lovely supplies you've brought are sitting there waiting for you to use them and you're nowhere to be seen, but I'm getting back into them now. So let's not get too sad. Now, that color in particular, I was left just confused because it's yellow on the cap. It has the Y marker, meaning I assume that it's yellow, and it came out pink. I don't know if that's just the ink has gone funny over time, or if it came that way. I don't think I swatched them like this off the bat. But it's very interesting to note. I will still use it now that I have them swatched. That makes it so much easier to know what it actually looks like. Moving on, I am super excited for these markers. These are a brand called Creative Place, which is from Aldi, the German supermarket. And these markers were absolutely lovely, like shockingly so. They were very inexpensive. Though I do have to apologize here, both for the, like, just weird sheen on the screen. I think the sunlight was hitting my camera somehow, and the autofocus just doing whatever it wanted. Yeah, don't trust autofocus. I'm sorry, I'm still working on setting everything up. But back to these markers, they are really, really lovely. They are the smoothest of the Copic style knockoffs that I tried today, and I 100% recommend them if you can get your hands on them. I do have to apologize, the swatching gets a bit funny here because I kept wanting to write GG when I was trying to write CG, and so I'm trying to cover up the first C, the first G with the second G to make it look like a C, and it just made it really messy. But you you get the point. But no, these markers are very, very lovely. And they're very smooth. I am gonna draw a picture with them real soon. I might even film that, and so I can upload it during Inktober and keep it all relevant, or try to anyway. Now these caps were not difficult to open, which was I found really good, but I don't know if it's a bad thing that the typo ones were so difficult to open. Because I mean, I feel like that protects your markers from drying out. But it just makes it easier and more usable if they are easier to open. But yeah, no, these ones were my favorite of the markers. So that is something to keep in mind if you have LD where you are. They may come up in that center area that swaps out now and again. But they do have like different goodies all the time, so who knows when they'll be there again. I hope they do. I would love to get some more of these. And I would recommend giving them a try. In saying that, I would love to get my hands on some Ohuhus or actual Copics, but I'm still wading through the mess of art stuff that I have. I have all this stuff that's just wasting away, and I'm lucky nothing's completely dried out, so I shouldn't go buying anything too expensive until I know what I have. And I have a lot to play around with here while I figure out what I want to, what sort of direction I want my art to go in. But yeah, these were so smooth when swatching them out. They were incredibly lovely. There were like a few that seemed like a little jerky, but in general, I think, yeah, no, I would definitely recommend these. I think I've said that a few times now. Yeah, very, very happy with these, and they're such lovely colors. 10 out of 10, recommend. Next up, I will be swatching these Kaisercraft markers. They came in a huge, huge set, and I remember being very excited to get because I was very into marker art at the time. But I even remember when I first got these being very disappointed. These were not cheap markers to get. It was a big set, but even their smaller sets were rather pricey, and these are the newest of all the markers that I brought, and it was the set that kind of killed my drive to work with the markers. So they have not had the chance to try out like the rest of them have. But yeah, no, I trusted the Kaisercraft name. They were a shop where you could get a lot of really good stationery materials and different crafting items, and they had a good art range. However, these days they're really veering away from that and becoming more of a gift shop, selling goods like baby stuff, jewelry, candles, soaps, and so on. And there is absolutely a place for that, and I completely understand the need, but where I'm located, there are not a lot of arts and craft shops, and they are getting fewer by the day. We have no really, really good art shops where I'm at. No, that is a lie. There is one, but because they're the only one that supplies like the real high quality goods, I do believe that they mark their prices up. There's nice art shops an hour and 20 minutes away that have the exact same goods at a reasonably lower price. It's not huge jumps, but it is enough that I think the fuel cost of the driving there is worth it. But yes, oh gosh, I'm doing the CG thing again. I apologize, I'm a bit messy. But yeah, you probably see they're a bit bumpy, a bit scratchy, and I just was really not happy with these. And you may have seen just then that the rubber mat has come back. Not because these were incredibly hard to open, they weren't, but by this point, opening all these lids were making my forearms ache, and I actually had muscle pain in my forearms for a few days after this. Yeah, I injured myself opening Copic marker knockoffs. What a ridiculous way to harm oneself. The day after this, I woke up thinking, why do my forearms hurt so much? Why is it so hard to pick things up? And then it dawned on me what I'd spent my previous day doing, and I felt like such a fool. But of all the markers that I've swatched here today, I would not buy the ones from Kaisercraft again. Hopefully you can see here and make up your own mind. And I'm hoping you can see that they are different from the other markers, though they may not look it. It's hard to pick it up on the camera, but I do think they look significantly worse than the Creative Place or Typo markers. And I definitely felt a difference. They were drier, and they are the newest of the markers, so they shouldn't be so dry, I would think. It is an unfortunate reality because there are so many markers, and they were really rather expensive for the set, and they do have some really pretty colors. I do think I'll do my best to use these. Maybe they just need to get the ink flowing. But I probably wouldn't, or at least don't buy a big set. Buy a small set to try out. Don't do what I do. Don't buy the massive set. But I would not buy these again. And yeah, I would not recommend buying the Kmart ones. I explained why. I just don't think that saving your money by buying those cheap markers is actually worth it. Buy one from Aldi or from Typo if they're available to you. I know if you're here in Australia, they should be. But yeah, don't waste your time with the Kmart ones. Use caution when buying from Kaisercraft. Typo is not excellent quality, but they are still a lot of fun, and the same with Creative Place. But if I had to pick one out of those two, I would pick Creative Place. As you can see, they've gone right through the paper, but it's not particularly good paper. I think I said in the last one, I'm just using up the paper I have and hoping for the best. But I am finished with the knockoff Copics now. But these Montmartre dual tip markers were in the same box, just dumped together, so I thought I may as well just swatch them out. They're here, makes my life easy, and gives me a bit more to talk about, because out of everything I swatched today, these are my favorite. It is unfortunate, they're not even the Copic knockoffs. But yes, so they are Montmartre dual tip, one side being a brush tip, one side being a fine liner. I definitely prefer brush tips to chisel tips, but chisel tips absolutely have their place. I think I explained in the last video that Montmartre is also an Australian brand, a art brand. Almost everything in this video is an Australian brand, except for Aldi. That is not intentional. That's just what's available to me. But these markers are really lovely. So yeah, my next project will probably be with these markers. I'm so excited to work with these. They flow so smoothly. I feel like I have had these for a while, but there was not a single issue with the ink flow. Not a single color was scratchy. They are lovely. They're lovely. I'm very, very glad to have these. They are cheaper, on the cheaper side. Then they're not, significantly great quality, but they're very good for the price they are. About $20 AU for the set of markers, and I am very happy to have rediscovered these. I think these would even be good in journaling if you were on slightly thicker paper than this, because these obviously go through as well. But yeah, these would be good even for journaling, because the fine liner you could write with really well, and the brush you could use to do little decorations. And so I think I will involve these in my journaling, which is something that I have tried to keep up with, even as actual artworks have, and even simple sketching has fallen to the wayside. I used to be one of those kids in school that would sketch on the corner of every page and in the space between questions on tests and in the margins. And then, yeah, I just sort of stopped. Had a few different mental health crises and had me very, very down. And I didn't want to do anything. But I vastly improved from that. But didn't start doing art again. My focus was elsewhere. Different things to sort of get me going. And then there was the pandemic after all that. But yeah, even in all that free time, and as I was in a much better place mentally, you'd think that I could have dedicated some time to art, but yeah, it didn't really happen. And it's only quite recently I realized that I hadn't done more than a handful of pieces of art in the past 5 years, which is quite upsetting. So I'm coming back from that and kicking my ass into gear. I actually had a lot of fun swatching everything, even as my forearms were aching. There's just something really nice about seeing it all lined out like that. I could swatch things all day long as it wasn't hurting my forearms. I definitely recommend these Montmartre markers if that is something you are interested in. I also recommend the Creative Place markers. They're brilliant, and the typo ones are definitely very good for their price. I would avoid the Kaisercraft, but you can make up your own mind for that. Definitely avoid the Kmart ones. Not worth it. But I think that is all for this video. I hope you learned something and that you're having a good day, and if I'm lucky, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!